Let's get salty!
Everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and we are beginning a new week, and it is time to finally, I think, expect some balance changes in Hearthstone. We have reason to believe that, and we're gonna go over what I think will get changed, maybe what I'm hoping will get changed, and also I think there'll probably be buffs with this patch because there are a lot of underperforming cards from the latest expansion, which might be more a symptom of something else, which we'll talk about. And if you enjoy the content on the channel, feel like I've earned your subscription, please hit that sub button down below. Give the video a like as we're on the road to 85,000 subscribers. So the last balance patch we got was 29.6.2, all the way back in June. We went a full month without like a serious balance patch. We saw some changes with 30.0, but regardless, anyways, they made a note here. As a note, we want to let that early post-expansion meta develop a bit before we step in, so our next major balance pass is scheduled for slightly later than the last few, about 2 weeks after expansion launch instead of about 10 days, and well, tomorrow will be 2 weeks. So I think it's pretty likely we should get a patch announcement, a balance patch, all that stuff this week. And looking at the data at HS Replay, I mean, front page is useless, but I always start with it because I don't know, maybe I should just get out of the habit of showing this page. But you see that, you know, the top class, bottom class, 10%, a lot of classes near 50%, doing pretty well. More importantly, though, if you take a look at the meta itself, if we're looking at Legend throughout Perils of Paradise, there are a lot of playable tier 1, tier 2 decks, and they vary from aggro and aggro and aggro to some combo and like a couple of control mid-range decks. But yeah, we got like Flood Paladin, Pirate Shaman, Pain Warlock, which always seems to be up there, but they got a bunch of support this set. It makes sense. Handbuff Paladin always up there, but then you got the elemental decks like Mage and Shaman that are all about Lamplighter, and there's a lot of frustrations around Lamplighter. We'll talk about that card. Zarimi, Priest, Dragager, there are a ton of stuff. So like, why do we want a balance patch? Well, there's a lot of stuff kind of warping the meta right now. In particular, although not the highest win rate, Virus, Control Warrior, the Zilliax archetypes, which just can't really be beat in the late game other than OTKs from in hand or other Zilliaxes. Like it's really hard to counter. So that's why we have so many different varying decks, but mostly on the aggressive side or on the OTK side. There are some exceptions, but it's a really meta warping experience, which is why I feel a lot of the cards from this latest set just aren't better than the Zilliax stuff or the super aggressive stuff, or they fit into the aggressive stuff. So it's a really weird meta to evaluate without Zilliax and that interaction being dialed back. And if you look at HS Guru, another really great resource, at Legend the past week, you got the combo Druids, you got the aggro decks and Handbuff Paladin, Pirate Shaman. Zarimi Priest has been moving up and up and up lately. It's one of the best performing decks. So Priest at least has one deck, but not exactly super new. It runs Hunter cards, it runs a Tourist card and all that. Rainbow DK is like one of the only other control-y mid-range deck that sees like a remote amount of play. Everything else seems to be pretty aggressive, although Reno Warrior I think is the only Reno Warrior trending well. But regardless, let's go into what I think will change, and we'll see how horribly wrong I am. But usually we get most of them right because I feel like most of the time it's pretty darn obvious what's standing out as a little bit busted. First, I want to say Lamplighter, I think 100% gets nerfed. This card basically is a standout, the absolute best card in every deck it's in. It's also a sentiment outlier in where players, especially facing OTK Rogue, don't necessarily like taking 60, 70, 80 damage. You know, it is later in the game, don't get me wrong, like turn 10 and 11 when they're doing like the absolute mega combo with like bounce around and Sonya, but still it is just not a great experience. And if you look at the card, it's basically any elemental deck, it's Lamplighter, auto complete the other 28 cards, maybe throw a bounce or two in, and you have a competitive deck. And it's not really healthy. It's good that a card is strong, but not when a card turns every mid-range deck or aggro deck or whatever into an OTK machine by turn 9 and 10. That's typically not what you want, especially from a neutral. That's what Scar's job is supposed to be. And when it's outperforming a class elemental payoff legendary, probably a bit much. What happens? I know Kibler wants this to go to 5 to avoid Sonya, but to me, that's a Sonya problem, not a Lamplighter problem. I would just probably like to see it go to 4. Although, yeah, 5 would be a lot safer, where you can't like play it on 5, bounce it, play it on 5, unless it's Shadow Step. Shadow Step would still get around that because Shadow Step is literally negative mana, but overall, probably goes to 4, and if it's still too good, then they'll nerf it again later. That's my expectation, which again, I'm probably gonna expect for another card, and let's get right into it. A lot of us were very scared of this card pre-release. Expansion Day seemed kind of underwhelming. Those decks were dying as they got further refined. Concierge, in particular, Concierge Druid, arguably the best deck in the entire game. Only hard loses to a small number of decks like Hand Buff Paladin, which we'll talk about later. Concierge, I fully expect to not get nerfed properly. I fully expect this card, when I first predicted that this card would be broken, it was wrong for a bit and then was right. And I also originally gave it a 2 out of 5. I've been all over the place with this card. I've been wrong on so many levels. So let's be wrong on our nerf prediction. But I will be shocked if they give it the not less than 1 treatment, which absolutely should happen to this card. It's stupid that you can do like 80 damage, 60 damage on turns like 4 and 5. Oh, we're gonna slow it down a turn. That's gonna be the argument. We want to have exciting pop-off turns. We'll slow it down. And it's Druid. They have ramp. It's like, are you really slowing it down that much? When you play this, a lot of the times, you'll see your opponent has a mana left over. But yeah, regardless, I imagine it goes to 4. Maybe get stat compensation as well, and then it'll get nerfed the next patch when it's still like a problem, or maybe it's not. Maybe it does slow it down enough that it's okay, or they nerf other things alongside it. But yeah, Concierge, I do think it's hit, especially since like the best deck in the game right now loses to so little, and it might be nerfing other stuff too. So Concierge absolutely stands out, and yeah, I doubt they go the not less than 1, because it's very obviously designed to cheat out those drinks for 0, right? Like, that's what they made this for. They're not going to want to go full on like, yeah, we made a mistake, let's revert it or change that. No, they'll wait at least a little bit, even though it's a neutral common, which really shouldn't be defining things in my opinion. We might as well leave off with the other neutral that's really warping things. We all know Zilliax is absolutely ridiculous, and it's not just the virus module, the one with elusive Poisonous Reborn. When you combo that with the perfect module, getting that taunt, bringing it back over and over and over, I don't think this gets nerfed, because I don't think the way to nerf it is hitting these modules. You could. The only way to do that, 10 mana will be irrelevant. Making it 10 doesn't matter. You still chemical spill it, all that. You take the stats away. Maybe you take an attack away, it matters a little bit because it's less lethality on the board, but it will still kill everything, heal you not as much. You could do that, but I think the better approach will be to nerf some class cards. So we'll leave that in a second when we go over the class cards, but I still think Zilliax gets nerfed because arguably the more broken thing, which is more popular, which is in like every deck, even though it's been nerfed once already, just like the virus module, is the ticking module. 5 mana, 1/3, costs 1 less for each minion in play. I have been pitching this for like, I don't know, since the card came out, that this would cost 1 less. You can make it 4. I'm fine with that, but it costs 1 less for each friendly minion in play. So it's not punishing your opponent for playing minions to cheat it out, and then you can't just get it out with that. The pylon module just auto with the game. Sometimes it gets out in like turn 2, right? The only downside to that is the perfect module synergies, which is used as more of a defensive mechanism where, you recover on the board by playing a discounted ticking perfect and like hit with lifesteal and recover. That would hurt, but again, making it 4 would help. I would love to just see the rework of this card. I don't think it should include all minions. I think it should just be friendly, but we'll see how it goes. But I just don't think there's any chance that Zilliax doesn't get nerfed. You could nerf virus, you could nerf perfect, you could nerf ticking. There's all 3 valid candidates. One of them certainly will be, if not more, but let's talk about the related cards that I think are very likely to get hit as well. First and most likely being Hydration Station, the 8 mana druid spell that can be played by warrior, which resurrects your 3 highest cost taunt minions. So you look at Zilliax in the virus module, every deck where you would call it problematic with that, that card, it's all the mass res decks. They all use this card. bring it back. So why not make it resurrect your 3 different highest cost taunt minions, right? So you're actually required to run multiple taunts, similar to like the Spellstone in Priest back in the day. I actually think it's in the core set right now. But that, yeah, you have to play like Fi, you gotta play Ziliax, and you can get your ham in there, right? And then you get a nice board fill, and it's just not Ziliax, and drive people absolutely crazy. I think it would still be strong. You just have to build differently around it, and it's, for me, more in the spirit of the card. We got like multiple animals on here. Why do we have one mech? That doesn't make a lot of sense now, does it? So I think this is a very likely candidate if you want to go around nerfing the virus module, because again, you could take a keyword off the card, you could do that, but I think Hydration Station, I think less likely, but a possibility. The same thing for Adventure Boom, you know, different mechs instead of just Ziliaxes, you could do that too. I don't know if that's as likely as it's just for Warrior and not Druid and Warrior, but certainly a consideration. But at least Hydration Station, I would think, is a pretty safe bet for that to happen. And speaking of Druid, to me, Desert Nest Patron is a card that is just egregiously stupid. It has been, it's already been nerfed once. This was a 3/5, but this is the card that, you know, your Splish Splash Whelp went from 2 to 3. It doesn't matter as much when always right after I get a free Nest Matron, which has Taunt, which protects me, which just lets my ramp almost be free in the early game. It's the best card in Dragon Druid that isn't like, well, Splish Splash Whelp still, I guess. It's absurd, it's really strong, and I feel like Druid has like every shell of Druid just uses the same thing, and it's just been proven over time to be too good. We saw that at the end of Whizbang, we're seeing that now at the beginning of Perils in Paradise, and I think this card should go to like 5 or refresh 3 crystals, something to it that it's not just free mana. Because right now, it's just 0 mana, gain mana, or sometimes better than that, other like discountable stuff, right? Like, I just feel like this card has kind of been under the radar as something that should get hit. I think the Dragon package needs another adjustment, and for me, Nest Matron would be the card. As we've seen time and time again, Hamba Paladin remains one of the top, if not best decks out there, and it's remained very similar since the launch of Whizbang, and to me, Patriots Virtue just always stands out as a candidate that should probably get adjusted. I wouldn't hit it super hard, but I just feel like, does this need lifesteal? Does it need lifesteal? If you're doing all the hand buff stuff, shouldn't you be at more risk of blowing up, right? It's so hard to kill them whether you got lifesteal this weapon, lifesteal on the plushie, plus the plushie gets the hand buffs. I don't know. I feel like something's got to give with this weapon at some point, whether it loses its durability, it loses lifesteal, it goes to 5 mana, and as you saw on the stats, it's one of the best performing decks out there. I feel like you got to adjust it at some point. Maybe not this patch, but I don't know. At some point, Pater's Virtue, I feel like, has got to change. I will mention a card that I don't think will get nerfed, but it's just always a problem, it feels like, alongside Shadow Step. It's funny. You can't have a 2-mana Battle Cry combo card because it's free with Shadow Step, and now we don't want 3-mana Lamplighters because if we Shadow Step it goes to 1, which goes to 0 with Sonia, right? It's almost like 0-mana cards can be an issue, and we're even hearing arguments, like I said, about Lamplighter because of the way it works with your 5-mana Pirate, that if it's at 4 will make the Elemental 1, which will make it 0 with Sonia. I just feel like this card creates more frustrations in the game, at least for me. I know a lot of higher level players can't stand it because there's endless 0-mana card spam, and I just wish that it said, like, after you play your first 3 1-cost cards this turn, get a copy of it. Just cap it. Why is it unlimited bullcrap? I don't know. You can make it 5, you can do other things with it, and I swear it's not because I have 3 signatures, a golden, and 2 regular copies. It's just the card drives me crazy. But yeah, probably doesn't get hit. It's like literally the only like playable thing right now in Rogue, and they'd be kind of removing the class, or unless they go crazy buffing other cards. But to me, it's just such a frustrating card that I would love to see get adjusted in some way. And my last nerf prediction would be Mass Production, as Pain Warlock is arguably like the 2nd or 3rd best deck at all rank brackets. It's a menace and wild with the Demon Seed, and no, I'm not expecting wild balance changes because why would I ever? They don't even acknowledge that it's a real format these days, it feels like. Regardless, this card has been one of the best performing, again, if not best performing cards in Pain Warlock, which looking at the stats as we saw earlier, one of the best decks in the game. This at 2 mana I think would still be run. It's still 2 mana draw 2, upside of taking 3 damage, right? Like it's just an absurd card. This card is way too good, and I don't know, I feel like it should get hit, might not get. It's not talked about as much, but it's one that absolutely stands out. As for buffs, I think I'm not going to go into specific cards, just the classes that really need it. I think more so than any other class in the game, Hunter absolutely needs some help right now. Priest is utilizing their cards. We showed Serene Priest. It's doing pretty well, but something like Ranger Gilly, I know it won't change things. We talked about that, where the warrior cards need to be better. We'll talk about that in a second, but I still feel like this card could be improved. He could be like 5 mana. You could give the Croc something to do. Give it Taunt, Rush, literally anything. I feel like this card absolutely could use a buff. And thinking like Death Roll, I mean, we had Cannibalize at 4. Death Roll could probably be 4. I think that would be okay. Or maybe Furious Fowls you buff in some way, whether it's, you know, the birds have 1 more attack, which is probably pretty scary, or maybe make them 3/3s even though they're immune. 2 health, they're so easy to die. Making it 5 might be a bit too good, but one of these cards, if not like 2 or 3, because all the new Hunter stuff just isn't working. Every Hunter deck that's good, for the most part, runs the old cards. Mage, if we're hitting Elemental Mage, there's not a lot going on for it. The big Spell Mage isn't working right now. Tsunabi's like one of the only good cards, but it's not enough to carry, right? And it's 8 mana. So I'd love to see like Under the Sea go to like 5 mana, maybe make Cephalopods 4 mana, speed it up a little bit with how fast the game is. One of those 2 cards could probably use that help. King Tide is actually one of the best performing cards in that deck. The deck is terrible. King Tide is okay. So overall, yeah, one of these 2 I feel like would be great. Paladin definitely doesn't need buffs right now. Priest is actually in a decent state. You could buff like Twilight Medium to have some more stats, or I don't know what else. Like, I guess Sensory Deprivation. This card's terrible, but overall, Priest is not that far off, and I'm very curious to see how it does in a post-nerf patch. Rogue has a lot of cards that aren't doing a lot. Be curious to see if they buff Eudora, buff Maestra. Both are terrible, but I feel like they're not supposed to be good. They're like super flavorful and all that, but yeah, you could probably make either of them 5 and you're not going to break the game. So it's certainly a possibility. Shaman absolutely needs no buffs at all. Sure, the Razzle Dazzler stuff isn't working so well right now, but I think that's more of a Ziliax thing, and almost everything else in Shaman is working. They have like 4 or 5 different top tier decks right now. Don't think you need to buff Shaman. Warlock, Pain Warlock's doing great, but yeah, you could maybe buff like one of the other new Death Rattle cards. You could look at that, like Sacrificial Imp or Fellfire Bonfire, although that's scary because that's mana cheat. Preferably buff a Death Rattle. Like, I'd like to see this almost have less health, if that makes sense, so it's easier for you to kill off, or make it 2 mana so it's easier to, you know, eat it with your Eat the Imp card. That could help. And Warrior, almost all the cards are underperforming. You could nerf Food Fight. It's terrible. Line Cook, you could buff. You could buff Char. You could buff Rye Cleaver. You could buff Draconic Delicacy. You could buff Monstrosity. So all I'll just say is buff Warrior, which will also help Hunter out because, well, Hunter needs some Warrior cards to play with their Tourist, and the majority aren't very good. And I don't think you buff neutrals because, yeah, again, you want to get those class cards moving. So I think we're going to see a lot of nerfs. I think we're going to see a lot of buffs. Should be a really interesting patch. This metagame hasn't been atrocious at all, but there are things that I feel do need to be adjusted one way or the other, and we'll see what happens. Let me know in the comments down below what you agree with, disagree with, what you'd like to see to get nerfed, what you'd like to see get buffed, and the second anything's announced, hopefully this week, I'll let you guys know, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friends.